Welcome back for another video. Who are the best players to buy for Game Week 11 and beyond? Let's break it down nice and simple by position. Obviously every week there's going to be some positions that you're not looking to use a transfer in, or you might even be hoping to roll, but I always recommend listening to each part because there's going to be plenty that you might have missed. One thing you certainly won't have missed is just how strong Arsenal's defence has been. They're away to Sunderland next, which has got Raya top of the keepers table for Game Week 11. 5.7 expected goals conceded after 10 games is comfortably best. They're on an all-time Premier League record pace of only 3 goals conceded after 10 games. Mourinho's Chelsea with 15 goals conceded in 38 is the record. So that's 7 clean sheets, only 6 big chances conceded. That's a big chance conceded every 163 minutes. So looking at the next 5, obviously that has Raya unsurprisingly top of all the keepers. The next is actually Sanchez in fact, with 17.2 projected points for the next 5. Context is important with data though, and it's kind of harder to read into Chelsea's data because they have had several red cards that have skewed their defensive data a bit. 13.6 expected goals conceded so far, that ranks 14th. 4 clean sheets though is 3rd most after Arsenal and Newcastle. There was that quote from Maresca a while ago where he did allude to potential rotation at some point for the keepers. It may or may not happen, and it might be one game over the whole season, but it is a slight risk to consider with Sanchez. 20.99 expected goals conceded for Burnley means they're still glued to that bottom spot in the league in that stat. Only West Ham and Wolves have actually conceded more goals. No one's conceded more shots than Burnley though, so they are definitely a team to target. Who have they got coming up then? Well, all 4 of their next fixtures actually do have players with potential. They've got West Ham next, so Paquetá and Bowen could be good options. They've got Chelsea after that, so Enzo, João Pedro. I mean, I perhaps wouldn't rush to buy João Pedro in mind, but after finally scoring again last game, definitely keep hold for a couple of games. And then Burnley have got Brentford after that, so Thiago looks brilliant. And then they've got Palace, so Mateta, Sarr, Munoz. Defenders next then, and it is Gabriel top this week. He's averaging 10.5 points per game this season, which is madness. They've not conceded since Game Week 6 in the league, that's back in September. Chelsea are home to Wolves next, so we've got James and Gyokeres 2nd and 3rd on the table this week. I would recommend paying that 0.6 premium for Gyokeres if you're considering James. They have managed him incredibly well this season, but it still wouldn't surprise me if he misses the occasional game for a rest, load management, and there is always that bad injury record looming over him that does make him a risk. Chalobah for 5.1 mil looks fantastic, so either him or Gyokeres looks more sensible. After 10 game weeks, which defenders are showing the most offensive potential then? Timber has crept ahead of Munoz as the number 1 defender for expected goal involvement. He's on 2.75, 2.67 for Munoz. Both fantastic picks from this week onwards though, if you can buy them. Gyokeres' attacking stats also respectable. In case you missed it, another free addition to the app recently is a suspension tightrope or a suspension tracker. It tracks all players in the league and how near they are to suspension. Getting 5 yellow cards in their team's first 19 games played is a 1-match ban. Now, that isn't to say don't buy these players, but it's good to be aware of it and how exposed your team currently is. So, I've sorted it by ownership for the most notable names, and there's a few players 2 yellow cards from a ban: Kudus, Senesi, Grealish, Calafiori, Munoz, Burn and Thiago. Paquetá and Nico Williams 1 yellow card from a ban. There's a link below to get the app, or just search FPL Focal in the app stores. FPL.page, another way to access it from your browser. If you can't afford Munoz at 5.7 mil for Palace's really nice fixture run, then Lacroix or Richards look great as well. Guahi's actually done really well, but Lacroix is the better pick for defcons per 90, and Guahi has massively overperformed in terms of goal involvements. Honourable mention to Keane, who's the cheapest defender on the table by far this week at 4.5 mil. It's kind of difficult to justify Tarkowski's selection overall now for 5.5 mil when, you know, Keane's not far behind for defcons per 90 and he's 1 million cheaper. So that could be a good area to free up some money if you've got Tarkowski. Looking at some cheaper defenders then. As far as the next 5 projections, Lacroix and Anderson are joint top on 19 points. This is defenders 5 mil and under. Senesi's on 18.8. And as far as the really cheap defenders, Rodon's on 15.1 points, Estev 14.8, Mukiele and Alderete 14.3. Midfielders up next, and have a look at that. Enzo's top this week with 6.1 points, and they do face Wolves home, who sit Bottom of the Premier League table, more goals conceded than any team, and Pereira's just been sacked. A lot of the top picks this week do play midweek, so when there's that many games on, it is sensible to wait until after if you can, before making a transfer just in case. The following teams all play midweek before Gameweek 11. Arsenal, Liverpool, Spurs, Chelsea, Man City, Newcastle, Forest, Villa and Palace. So yeah, it was another blank, but Enzo did come away with 0.65 expected goal involvement against Spurs. That's 1.11 over his last 2 games. He has been unlucky. So how are the non-penalty XGI standings looking? Mbeumo is the top midfielder, then it's Gakpo, then it's Enzo, and then it's Sarr. And all 4 of these look like brilliant buys this week, perhaps except Gakpo actually, but definitely from Gameweek 12 he's got a lot of potential. Look at Sarr and Enzo's next 5 projections though. That's why they're such fantastic picks right now, plus the relatively cheap price point. However, Ndiaye to Sarr looks a bit sideways for Gameweek 11, and Ndiaye to Enzo is an upgrade. Holding on to Ndiaye home to Fulham either way is not a bad shout though. So yeah, Paqueta's back on the table, great fixture next, scored in their huge result as well, getting a win over Newcastle on Sunday. Though as we were saying just now, he is on 4 yellow cards, so he's a bit of a risky pick longer term unfortunately. I mean, there's no way that he makes it to Gameweek 19 without getting a single further yellow. By the way, if you ever think, is X or Y baked into those projections, the answer is yes, it is baked in. Whether that's like free kick duties or penalties, underlying stats, or even potential suspensions actually. Like Paqueta does have a potential suspension included in his projections, which is why his next 5 is a little bit lower. Mbeumo barely misses out on making the table this week, by the way. He's on 4.5 points. Salah's on 4.6 facing Man City. So let's talk about Rice then. He's quietly having a great season. 2 goals, 4 assists, 4 DEFCON points. So that's 6 goal involvement so far. He's on 63 points, which actually means he's the second top scoring midfielder after Semenyo. And given that Saka and Gyokeres aren't doing much of note, he's an excellent choice. 6.8 million, he takes corners on the left side, the odd free kick as well. So yeah, no Semenyo on the table for Villa away next, but if you were going to gamble on selling, last week before the City game was the time. The fixtures are great from Gameweek 12, so keep hold. Looking even cheaper then, who are the best mids 6 mil and under? Minte remains my number 1 pick. He's on 21.2 points for the next 5, which is well ahead of any other 6 mil and under mids. The other one that I've actually been looking at is Anderson. He's 5.3 million, he's had a few price falls, and obviously he's not done much of note, but he has hit 10 plus DEFCONs in every single game, and only Caicedo's averaging more per 90. The fixtures are quite nice, plus he does have a goal involvement in him. He does take corners and the odd free kick. Caicedo's great as well, but he is 6 million now, so if you're going to spend that much more than Anderson, then Minte makes more sense to me. Dewsbury Hall's had a price drop down to 4.9 mil, and he also looks like a nice enabler. Ideally for the bench though, because the fixtures do turn a bit soon for Everton. Something to keep in mind if you're an Ndiaye owner as well. Forwards next then, and it's Haaland top this week with 6.1 points. So that actually means Enzo's on exactly the same projected points as Haaland this week. Haaland's home to Liverpool, of course. It's so hard not to captain Haaland right now though, and I will be captaining Haaland again personally. I mean, he could have had a first half hat-trick against Bournemouth, he should have really. Mateta is the most transferred in player around the world currently, 9-pointer last week, and that makes it 6 goals in 10 games. Only Haaland's projecting more points over the next 5. It's not the best entry point to buy, but Thiago is someone that I'm really thinking of buying in Gameweek 12 if I can. They face Brighton and then Burnley, 2 nice games in a row, and overall longer term the fixtures look good. But yeah, this week it is Newcastle, which probably won't be an easy game. If you need to go a week early as a combination set of transfers, then so be it. It's not the end of the world to go this week. That Voltemada and Gordon half-time substitution there was a real shock last week, 1 pointer for the both of them. I've personally not wavered on the opinion that the ideal front 3, in my eyes, is probably Haaland, Mateta and Thiago, or just Haaland and Mateta with a 3-5-2 setup, and then you bench a cheap forward like Gu or Krupi Jr. for example. Thiago is in fact ahead of Voltemada as well for the next 5 projections. The last one to mention is Låbakk. He's now scored 5 goals in his last 5. He's on 3.7 projected points. That's with an estimated 71 minutes, maybe a little bit on the low side. He has had a couple of subs around 65 minutes, but He has had some 90-minute games as well. I prefer Thiago personally, despite Welbeck's form, but both are great cheap picks. Thanks for watching. As always, if this was helpful, hit like, and make sure you subscribe for free so you don't miss daily FPL content to help you do well. See you soon for the next one.